Hi, welcome to Programming with Adam. I'm your host, Adam Berg. Today is week one, so we don't have any fancy graphics or anything like that to show you. But if you recall from our last video, when we talked about what this course is for and what we're trying to do, we're trying to teaching web development. Okay? And our goal is to build a blog. Build a blog. So, to get you started there, we're going to talk about the tools you need. We're going to give you an introduction. Me, to be honest. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript demo. We might talk a little bit about jQuery. We're talking about some JavaScript basics. And if we have time, we'll cover functions, classes, OO, things like that. We might not. We might only have time for this. Just so you know, I've got about an hour, and that's about what I'm recording it for. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing you need to think about for tools is you're going to need a web browser. Tools. You'll need a web browser. Okay? So this can be Chrome, Firefox, IE, Safari, etc. You're going to need a computer. Though a Chromebook or tablet might work. Text editor of some kind. Here I recommend VS Code or Sublime. VS Code is made by Microsoft. It's a really good tool. The biggest challenge I have with VS Code is it tends to be pretty heavy. So I routinely have started to switch to using Sublime for open source stuff that I'm working on. So Sublime text editing done right. This is what I'm using for this course. At some point soon I'll probably pay for a license. The other choice is VS Code. Of course, there's a lot of other choices out there. These are the two really popular ones. Later on, we're going to be doing React and Node.js development. Though not required, I recommend a Unix-based OS. And this could be Ubuntu, Linux, like other flavors. Other Linux flavors. Or Mac OS. Windows is tricky, hard, and won't be supported by me. Meaning, you can do it. It's more cumbersome to get going. Certainly in one of my jobs for about 3 years, I worked using a Windows computer, running Node.js and some Unix tools locally, like Cygwin and things like that. But I don't recommend it, and I'm not going to cover it here. So if you're a power user and you want to do that, more power to you. If you only have Windows and you have a pretty decent computer, you can look at a tool called VirtualBox. It's a free open source tool. I won't cover it here, but you can use this to run Ubuntu on your computer without installing a new operating system. It's a virtual machine. So if you're a power user, you can look into this. It's free, it's open source. I've used it a lot in the past. And then that's it. So, let's see. Tools, Chrome. Oh, and finally, you're going to need a terminal of some kind. And that'll be for a later course, okay? Later on in the course. As you can see, this is just my work, my terminal here that I've got running. So this is iTerm. It's on Mac. You can, of course, use terminal. Whatever whatever you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to copy my notes, spin it up, don't save, sorry. Okay. Alright, let's get started here. So, we covered tools. So, okay. So next we're going to talk about the web and what it's built on. The web. Okay. You know, if you're feeling nerdy, you can go out and read all about the history, learn all about how it came out of CERN, and you know, how it's distributed and how it all works. I'm not really going to get into that here. When I say the web, the browser, and the internet, I'm really talking about the same thing. Okay? These can almost be interchangeable when I'm talking about development. High level, the web and the internet are one and the same. The browser is the way you get to the web. It's Chrome, it's Safari, it's Internet Explorer, right? So when we define the web, we're talking about information traveling over the wire to you. And this information takes the form of either JSON, HTML, or XML. Okay? So typically a website will have all three components of these, but what you wind up seeing is all HTML. That's the end of what you get to see. Okay? And wrapped into that, there's three converging technologies in languages to learn. That's JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So, if we think about roles and what each thing is good for, HTML's role is the design, presentation, as we call it, or UI. So, this is text only, okay? JavaScript, full programming language. Okay. It's a full programming language. It can run on the browser, but it can run on a server. Okay. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. This is the look and colors and design of the HTML. So, like, if you have a button on the screen, a great example would be if we come up here, the VS Code page, this download Mac Universal Stable Build. The button is HTML. This hover state is a CSS style being applied. The blue is CSS. The font is CSS controlled. All of that kind of stuff. The layout is CSS. And what you see on the screen, this text, that's all done using HTML. Now, this little drop down, that's JavaScript. That's JavaScript interacting to say, okay, I'm clicking on this, I'm going to show you this little drop down. That gives you kind of the functionality behavior. Okay? So, a lot there to understand. We're going to start with HTML, because it's the easiest and most clear. So what you do is you're going to create a new file, come up to your toolbar, File, New File, right? Or Command N. We're going to save this file. We're going to call this HTML demo.html. Okay? What's nice about VS Code is it types a lot of code for you. So So I just started typing HTML, and I hit enter on this, and it gives you everything you need. So it's what we call the doc type. It's HTML. This usually refers to HTML5. You specify what the document is going to be by the doc type, and then you begin your HTML. So everything typically has a open tag. Now, some things like meta, usually you close it with a slash if you're doing like an XML style. That's how I close all of my HTML, is using a slash like that. Just because then it's really clear that this thing's a self-closing tag. Because typically you have an open tag, and then at the end you have a closing tag. So we have HTML, we have head, so this is metadata about the document that you're not going to see on the page. Like, maybe except this is, oh, that's expect. Except this is on the title bar, okay? And then down here we have stuff that you can see. Okay? So, open tag, close tag. Let's open Chrome Canary, and we'll just grab this file. Go to desktop. Programming with Adam. Week 1. Okay, HTML demo. Okay, here we go. Stuff that you can see. So, what's interesting about HTML is there's a lot of different tags. There's what we call heading tags, like hello world. Okay. Hello world. Okay. Trying to find a shortcut for duplicate line. Okay. We can do other things like there's 6 of these things, so we can say H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, and save it and reload. They all get smaller, right? There are other tags like paragraph, bold, so like strong. Right, there's all sorts of tags. Like strong makes the word bold. Instead of P, there's a U tag for underline, EM for emphasis or italic,